everyone, and welcome to our latest leader conversation. This series has proved to be incredibly popular as we share it with our members both here and international audiences. Today I'm talking to Chris Harrop. Chris is the General Manager of Digital Transformation at Pareto, one of our corporate associate members here with Cooperative Business New Zealand. And obviously, as a corporate associate member, the whole purpose of that is that they provide specialist services to our full members. And so welcome, Chris, and great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Roz.
Chris, I guess with your background and experience in digital transformation and commercial operating models, along with your experience in e-commerce, digital strategy, end-to-end digital transformation, you know, you're well placed to talk to us and this audience. So just to give everyone a sense of your background, maybe just tell us a bit about yourself and then maybe explain a little bit more about what Pareto Toolbox does and the services that you offer.
Yeah, sure thing. So my background's largely FMCG. I was really a commercial guy. I had big sales teams. I've done a lot of sort of channel strategy and things along the way. I had a recent robust experience up in Indonesia where I sort of got pretty head on into digital transformation and really began to govern some big digital topics. And that's particularly where the topic we're going to talk about today came together, because I also launched the PMO there. And so digital tooling and PMO are really close to my heart, as is Microsoft technology. So when I came across this product Projectum, I got pretty excited because it does all those things. I started with Pareto maybe 2 years ago when I came back to New Zealand and based down here in Christchurch, and look after the client base in the South Island and, as you said, our digital service line. But we are broadly a business transformation consultancy. So we really try to transform procurement, supply chain and digital as topics with our clients. We're a Microsoft Gold partner, so we work really closely with Microsoft and their tech to get good outcomes for clients, but as a result work with a lot of Microsoft enterprise clients as well. We have done and do work with quite a bit of your cooperative New Zealand base, definitely some of the bigger businesses, typically using technology to make them more sort of efficient and effective, and sometimes managing improvements in their supply chain and procurement as well. So I'm pretty excited to be talking to this audience because they're some of them are friends and we're looking to have more.
That's great. Hey, well, getting stuck into the topic itself. So in terms of project portfolio management, is it becoming a bigger topic, key focus area for businesses now more than it was in the past?
Definitely, it's a growing topic, and there's quite a few forces that sort of make that so. So the most traditional of enterprise now has to get into digitalization, really, whether you like it or not, right? And COVID's forced a hand a wee bit on that. But that's a big investment and it's a long-term play, right? And a lot of people, that caught a lot of people by surprise. So you couple that with new ways of working. You have businesses now who have digital products they never did before. They have agile teams, they have, you know, big manufacturing, they have maybe international parts of the business, and all of a sudden people are like, where did all these portfolios of work come from? Didn't see that coming. Now you add on some of the revenue loss from COVID and the global supply chain topic, which is a huge one. A lot of businesses have found themselves with this huge strategic agenda all of a sudden, and sometimes for the first time. So, wow, we have to transform this whole business. Oh my gosh, and on top of business as usual. And so that's where PPM sort of starts. Well, you kind of have to get into the topic, because although I don't love the cliche, businesses have to change the engines of the plane while the plane is still flying. And you've got to do all this huge strategic or transformational work on top of your business as usual. So PPM is really about prioritizing the right investments and then making sure that your project management disciplines actually get you the results, actually get you the benefits. And so I think that's why the topic is growing really quickly, is because people are struggling to get things actually delivered. And it's a rough stat, but a lot of the clients I work with overestimate their capacity for strategy and transformation by about 150%. You know, and they sort of like get to usually the first round and go, wow, we spent a lot of money, didn't necessarily get the result. So yeah.
No, I fully understand that. Having set up the PMO initially for Fonterra, or the dairy board as it was back in the 90s, so the challenges are large. I guess in terms of the technology component, what do you see as the benefits in terms of governing using PPM?
Yeah, great question. And this is one we could spend all day in, so I'll try and keep it nice and tight. I guess if you think about what this topic could include, and I'd choose a phantom business who shall not be named, looking to prioritize $80 million of capital spend per year, right? All of a sudden, you've got this huge strategic agenda. You've got to spend that money. That's business improvement money. But I've got 120 project managers doing things their own way on spreadsheets. Forget about it, right? Any C-suite or executive team has no visibility of how that is actually happening. It might happen now, in the future, 10 years time. Did we get the benefits? No idea. So the technology piece is really, there's a lot of advantages, but the one main one is around centralized data. So if I have all my project data in one space and it's all comparable, and I can roll it up to look at it from a holistic view, it's really easy to tell you what's on track, what's off track. A lot of the chief executives I talk to that are up at nights are wondering, we're spending that money, do we get the benefits? Where can I spend my energy and time to actually motivate the areas? So that's one part. The modern tooling part is the same benefit that technology offers to a lot of sort of departments. You get all this data in one place. You put in applications to manage the input and the interaction. So project managers are working much more efficiently with a standardized business process with the same data. All of a sudden, you have dashboarded information. So no more Stereco pack, no more spreadsheet work, no more building reports. And so you actually get a team, you get an informed executive, but the team's not doing any administrative work. They're not spending a lot of their energy on pulling together updates. That's an output of their work. And so they actually spend tasks on delivery and getting the benefits, which how you can actually sort of see and deliver these massive agendas. That's sort of two of the main ones. There's a couple others. Fact-based decision making is really good. A lot of the prioritization of portfolios in the past has been a bit around building a little empire, and department. So this is my money. This is what I spend it on. This is what I'm going to do. But when it comes to transformation, the money's the same, but the topics are largely sort of enterprise-wide. So if you're actually doing that prioritization of spend at once as a business across department, actually your bang for buck, where you're actually prioritizing the big investments, the big bets, can be done on facts, not just what I wanted to do to put on my CV for my next step. That's sort of how it can come across. And the last one for me is around resource management. So a lot of people miss this step. They think, I'll do their strategic agenda, I throw the money at it, but project management is a people and capability topic. It's about change management. It's about having the right capability at the right time of people doing the right work, often on top of their job, right? So if you don't have a view of how many of business analysts you've got, or how many IT developers you've got, and what their capacity is outside their normal job, it's impossible for you to know if you can pull off the plan. And so part of some of the technology that we are often implementing is giving you a full view of what roles are in the business, how busy are they, where are our gaps, and therefore what can we actually achieve in the next 12 months with the money we've got, and actually continually prioritizing that work with the current people. So that's probably some of the benefits. There's definitely quite a few more.
Yeah, I know from my own experience in terms of being involved in the project and program management world, it's all about bringing the strategy alive and identifying roadblocks and bottlenecks, and I think it's really powerful. So it's great that you're doing this. I suppose taking a cooperative spin to the topic, a fundamental feature of cooperatives is around making business decisions based on benefiting members and ensuring the long-term sustainability and intergenerational nature of cooperatives. So I guess that's quite different than a corporate, and decisions aren't solely revenue focused. How can how can PPM be used to ensure that decisions are made in this way?
Yeah, it's a good thought. You know, and although profit and revenue are not always this sort of fundamentally central topic in a co-op, there's still a lot of money being spent. And a lot of these big investments, particularly in digitalization, need to happen. My view on that is at a co-op level, that's actually usually a more risky topic because actually the big bet needs to stick. If you're looking at a corporate, it's next financial year, new money, how good, right? But in a cooperative business, if that's a member-based investment, that needs to actually transform the business. That actually needs to happen. So PPM can actually govern the right decision making in a way so that if you're going to spend that money once, you're actually going to get the benefits that are going to transform the organization. You know, and that's where the sustainability part comes in. Transparency is another one. I often find transparency is a much bigger topic in co-ops, and so if you've got a broader audience in terms of people wanting to see how the business is being invested in and performing, you know, and right out to a dividend level sometimes. So when the money's being spent and the resources being used, there's much more focus on being transparent about progress and actually giving updates in a way that people can see that they're on track or off track. You know, you have your kind of financial reporting like anybody else, but in a corporate, that's not always the case. People are like, that's what that department's doing, great, you know, but it's not a straight look through of the company quite often. So transparency is a really important thing that especially digitalizing PPM can offer co-ops to be, look, this is exactly where we're up to. This is the money we're spending and on what, and this is the benefit we're actually going to get. I think that's a really big topic.
Yeah, I think you're right. That whole transparency piece with regards to members and giving them confidence in terms of the work program and how that's going to actually deliver the outcomes that they're looking for. So just thinking about Pareto and in terms of the broader framework, you also specialise in procurement supply chain transformation. This is a big topic for many of our businesses right now. Do you have any insights in terms of how our members can increase their resilience to the supply chain disruptions that are impacting them at present?
Yeah, sure. I'll be speaking a little bit out of school here because it's not my wheelhouse completely, but I think the major things that I work on with clients, more in a general management consulting type view, is around looking at the value chain holistically and taking on and optimizing parts of it to kind of build resilience. Normally starts with sourcing, so sort of looking at making sure I can guarantee pricing stability and things like continuity of supply with my existing supplier base. That's usually the place to start, particularly if you have an international supply chain. And the kind of very next step of that is to actually identify and visualize your supply risk. So worked with a business recently where they had to do a full global market process on a single product, a single item to be sourced internationally because an investigation into modern slavery closed that down. And all of a sudden they had no supply for this particular ingredient. That meant that they were out of stock for 3.5 months on one of their consumer products. So visualizing supply risk, i.e. getting it into a dashboard to say, where is my single point of failure and how can I act in advance to find another global source? If anybody is dealing with anything out of kind of Eastern Europe at the moment and you didn't have a plan B, the likelihood of you being out of stock for a very long period of time is high, particularly if it's coming through that airspace. So that's one part. That's the sort of really locking in sourcing, let the procurement team go to battle on that. The next thing that I hear a lot about is around inventory, the changes to inventory strategy. So if anybody was running just-in-time inventory prior to the COVID supply chain problems, they probably are not anymore because simply the lead times are different. So there's quite a bit of work going on to look at what's the new level I need to set in terms of my inventory waterline based on the new volatility in the market. So if it was 6 weeks before for supply, what is it now, so that I can build resilience in my stock available for production, manufacturing, or sale. So a lot of people testing the water a wee bit there. And the last one's probably around testing the whole network of kind of logistics and warehousing. So this is more of a future-proofing strategy where you really challenge the traditional models. So do I go direct to customer on certain categories? Should I centralize my warehousing or decentralize my warehousing? Should I put stock closer to the customer? What can I look to reduce kind of freighting options and find efficiency in those kinds of things? So there's a lot of trial going on in that space at the moment. Quite a few in the co-op business. So some of your members are definitely doing some really brilliant work in the space. So those are probably the three big topics. There'll be plenty more, but like I said, this is it's not specifically my wheelhouse.
I think it's great because obviously, from, as you say, a lot of our members are really impacted by that, whether they're exporting or importing and distributing domestically. So it is a really big challenge for many of them. So it's great to have an organisation such as Pareto involved in that area. So just as we're wrapping up, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Chris, with regards to the portfolio?
No, not specifically. I think the thing to do is get into the topic. Be really clear on investments you want to make and limit them, keep it simple, make sure that you can actually deliver the transformation agenda and try and do that sustainably rather than biting off too big. Consider resources, in particular people, whether you actually have the capability or the number of capability to deliver the outcomes. Use technology to make things more efficient and effective and streamline the business process and sort of use data for visibility. Those would be my kind of leaving points.
Thanks so much. That's awesome. So, having subject matter experts such as yourself coming and talking to this audience is hugely valuable. So if any of you would like to reach out to Chris or the team at Pareto, please get in contact with me or get in contact with Pareto directly. And kia kaha, everyone.